Okay, good afternoon, members, and welcome to the first Enterprise and Service Subcommittee of the Council. I've been advised by the Governor's Office it's now 2 o'clock, so I shall move on. Can I remind members that the meeting will be recorded and made available for public listening? Also, can I ask that mobile phones are turned to silent? Thanks very much. Firstly, I think I've got to apologise for the lateness of the papers. These were ready to be sent out last Friday, but due to an administration error, these were not sent out in time. As this is the first committee and the reports are short, I would ask for your support to continue the committee to make sure that we actually do the business of the day. And I hope that you had enough time to read and understand the reports. I can confirm that arrangements are now set that it would only be in exceptional circumstances that the papers will be late again for the Enterprise and Services Subcommittee. Put it this way, it better be. Secondly, it's taken a while to organise this first meeting, and the reason for this is ensuring that the delegation that is in place, which is in one of our reports later on, is in place for this dynamic and forward-thinking committee in taking the commercialisation agenda forward. When you think that between 17 and 20 million pounds worth of council money is spent on small and medium enterprises across Dumfries and Galloway, I think it's right that this subcommittee has the responsibility to ensure that the contracts that we go for and win will ensure the viability not only of the staff that we have within Enterprise and D&G, but the viability of the 400 and odd small businesses in the region that actually help us do the work for people like Lorburn and things like that. And that's your 1 and 2 man plasterers, your painters and decorators and all those types of things as well, who rely on us. Owing to the budget cuts to council, we need to look at different ways in which we can bring money into the council, and I think this is one way which we can deliver for the people of Dumfries and Galloway. There's a couple of things I'd just like to say. First of all, we received a letter today from the Whithorn Trust, and it reads, on behalf of the Whithorn Trust directors, managers and staff, I'd like to thank you for Enterprise and D&G's first professional and generous assistance with the building of our roundhouse. Your swift offer of assistance came at a critical moment when things could have been very different. We appreciate very much the way in which the project was rapidly started at very short notice to suit our timetable. We are also very grateful for your professional help with the health and safety management of the construction stages of the project and with selection of and communication with subcontractors who carried out the job quickly and ably. The Trust is currently arranging a formal launch of the roundhouse at Easter 2017 to start off our new season, and I'd like to take this opportunity to give you an informal invitation to the launch, which we shall confirm formally with details closer to the time. So already Enterprise and D&G is working within the realms of what we set out in the EE&I committee. Also, I am very pleased to announce I was at Edinburgh Castle last night, and you may remember at the last full council we said that the Armed Forces Covenant, we received the Bronze Award for the Employers' Recognition. Last night we received the Silver Award, and that's the employer, the council employing reservists and cadet instructors and the way that they actually treat them. So I'm very pleased to report that, which I'm sure will be handed over at a meeting at a later date with either full council or EE&I. Okay, getting to the agenda then, Sederunt, apologies.
Good afternoon, Chairman. We've got apologies from Councillor Dempster, and he's been substituted today by Councillor Ogilvie. We're missing Councillor McClung and Councillor Tuckfield. I presume are apologies. And there's a permanent vacancy from the non-aligned grouping on this committee.
Graham?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding, Councillor Tuckfield and I got handed a set of papers at Area Committee on Wednesday. Loose leaf, to put it mildly. They weren't even stapled together. But anyway, we got them. That's the first sign we'd had of the papers. But Councillor Tuckfield was not aware. I don't think that she was on the committee. Or she was quite surprised at getting handed a set of papers. So maybe she hadn't factored it in, but that was just on Wednesday at lunchtime.
Thanks for that. As I say, we'll make sure you get your papers on time from now on. Okay. Any declarations of interest? Alistair?
Just to observe, sir, in relation to the letter that you read out a couple of minutes ago there, that I'm a trustee of the Whithorn Trust, but it was merely, as far as I'm concerned, I do not feel that I had to, I had to leave the chamber on that basis. I will replicate the sentiments expressed in the letter.
There is no minutes as this is the first Enterprise and Services Subcommittee, so we'll go straight into the reports on the Delegation to Enterprises Service Subcommittee, which is item number 4. The Delegation to the Enterprise and Service Subcommittee are set out in the Scheme of Administration and Delegation, which form parts of the Council's standing orders. The scheme was updated on the 24th of March 2016, whereby full Council agreed the establishment of this Enterprise and Service Subcommittee. The delegation is set out in the scheme in paragraph 6.4.2 and is detailed in paragraph 3.2 of the report. The delegation to the Head of Service, Enterprise and Service to tender for an authorised trading operation project is detailed in paragraph 3.3, and the Head of Service will provide regular updates on all tendering opportunities to this committee. Governance Officer, can I ask if you have anything to wish to add to the report?
Well, nothing to add, Chairman.
Craig?
Just a point, Chair. As on your last sentence, you said that the head of department will advise members of this committee regularly on, tenders, etc., going forward. Now, obviously, we know that this committee isn't on a set cycle, as I'm aware at the moment, for meetings. So, how would the head of service intend to do that? Would it be through email to all members, or would there be a special meeting called?
There's 2 other enterprise and subcommittees set for January and March, so they will come to those initially. But Ron, do you want to answer?
Thank you, Chair. It would be our intention that we will bring regular reports to those tenders that we have proactively sought to win on behalf of the Council. Obviously, in relation to the delegation, there could be smaller ones that we will deal with as part of the day activity. Larger major contracts that should come forward, we'll be seeking support of this committee, and we'll be bringing these to committee for approval to take forward under a tendering basis. So major contracts will be brought to this committee for their approval to allow us to move forward to the tendering stage.
Ian?
It's fine with the report. I think you said item 4, but I think it's item 3. That was all just because it gets recorded. I've seen me listening back and getting confused. To stop me getting confused, Chairman.
Graham?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know who wrote your script at the start, but I like the dynamic and forward-looking bit. That really appealed to me, and I hope that the committee can live up to those words in the time to come. What's the feedback on results of contracts and stuff like that? How will they get fed back? Will they get fed back during a contract, or will it be wait to the end of it and see if we made a profit or a loss, or how is that going to work through?
Chair, through you, I think it's very much very important that we bring these tenders that we go for on a regular basis, so that could fall almost to a monthly or committee report every session to advise what has been currently done, and then as we go through the process of reviewing these contracts, the success ratios, again there will be a need and a detailed report come back to give position statements on these outturns, and these will clearly link into the finance reports as well.
I think it's one of the exempt reports. We'll go through the sort of process here, Graham, just to give you an idea of what that is. Just to give members an awareness that Scotland Excel projects are on daily, basically, and if we can apply for a contract which is, within the remit of the delegation, then I think we should be going for it. It's as simple as that. But Ronnie would come back the following committee and say this is what we've done and move forward that way. Any other members? Sorry. I note the remit of the Enterprise and Service Subcommittee is detailed in 3.2. Are we happy with that? Thank you very much. Going on to item 4 then. Enterprise and Service Monitoring Report 2016-17 for the period ended 30th of September. Enterprise and service trading operations are currently predicting to return a surplus of £785,056 against a targeted return of £826,271. Officers are focusing their efforts on maximising income generation and trading return, and will continue to closely monitor this situation. If business and income continue at the modelled levels, enterprise and services will be returning £41,215 less than expected to the Council's general fund. The key issues are discussed at paragraphs 3.1 to 3.10. Ronnie, have you got any pertinent issues to note?
Not really, Chair. Obviously, as I say, the team is closely monitoring this as we go through, and as we hopefully pick up other contracts, this position could change, but we're reporting, as you see in the papers today.
Caroline, you got anything to add to it?
No, Chair, thank you. I'll just answer any questions.
George?
Thanks, Chair. It's in reference to 311 at the top of page 5, you know, where we say the waste collection service, and the main reason for the projected overspend is it's, well, to do in Nithsdale, to put it bluntly. I'm just wondering when this could be rectified, and what are there any particular reasons why Nithsdale is the chief culprit, can I put it that way?
Ronnie?
Chair, we have been very active in looking at some of the challenges in relation to the overall waste collection service, but in particular looking at Nithsdale, looking at the demands we have for the use of agency staff, looking at our absence, and we're currently working these processes through just now to rectify and improve these services, and looking how best we can minimise the figures that we're encountering. So there is a process going on just now. Nithsdale has its challenges. It's one of the biggest fleets to operate from, and we're looking to see how best we can tackle it. But it's currently being very proactively looked at to achieve some betterment.
Just come back with an observation, Chair, that I happened to be walking past the Academy today when a lorry came past with 3 operatives in the front of it. I mean, I know in the Stuart we only have 2. I'm just wondering the reasoning in Nithsdale why we have, or in this area, why there's a driver and plus another 2.
Again, Chair, through you, across the region there are different models. That we have one-man vehicles right up to, as you quite rightly say, driver plus 3, just depending on the capacity of the rounds and the routing. So all of that is currently being looked at as how we can best maximise the opportunities for the service.
Craig, then Alistair.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go into my own questions, just a point on the back of George's there with reference to the waste collection. I think that's something that needs to be identified now as a risk going forward to the council. That obviously in Nithsdale at the moment we're carrying out the residual waste collection as the rest of the region, but of course in Wigtownshire we're doing the recyclable collections, which will if it does come to Nithsdale, will have a bigger impact on staff again. So I think it's something worth being flagged up at this time, that if we're having the problems with Nithsdale on the residual waste collections, then we need to very carefully look at that if we move forward to the full recyclate collection going forward. But just a point for that one. Thank you, Chair. Going into my questions, I have a couple of points. First is on the table at 3.2 there, and it's not so much about the shortfall and the figures, but I noticed, and it's always been a case with the DG First prior to this committee being formed as well, the way that we report our financial figures. And I'm thinking here, as this is public reports and public papers, the first item there is plus £16,000, but it's actually a shortfall in the budget. And I understand that because we've overspent on that budget, therefore it grows. But in other departments, i.e. EEI, etc., we report all our figures as either an over and underspend. And I wondered if it would be possible to sort of realign the figures through this committee in line with other committees so that it's quite understandable across the whole of the council. My second point, Chair, would be on Appendix 2, which is the savings tracker. And it's a question on the overtime reduction. We're obviously well short in the figure that we are proposed to save. Within that, we're only 69,000 compared to 234 as a target figure there. That is obviously putting pressure on our budget, and similarly to the maximising attendance, which again refers to the waste collection and obviously at Nithsdale. And I just wondered if Ronnie had any update on that to see how the savings chapter will sort of work its way towards the end of the financial year. What is his predictions on that? Because that is going to put a pressure on this budget.
I'll ask Caroline to answer your first question first with regard to the table and then Ronnie in the next.
I have to admit that you're quite right. It has always been one of those issues that, because it's a trading account, it always looks as if it's the wrong way around. Certainly for the table, I can kind of change it around so that it becomes a minus. The thing is, it will be a shortfall or a surplus because it's not an over and underspend because there's no budget for these things. It's a zero budget. So the terminology will have to stay as shortfall and deficit, but I can certainly change the signs around for you.
Okay, thank you. And Ronnie?
Thank you, Chair. In relation to the overtime, we're obviously coming into the period when we have usually, potentially, a lot of overtime around winter and other activities. So I and my team, in conjunction with the Director, we're taking a very proactive approach to managing how and when the overtime is done, to look at it, to minimise it as far as is physically possible. And that is being monitored closely on a month-to-month basis with our finance officer. So we're looking at that continually to ensure, as far as is possible, that we minimise overtime expenditure as best we can. Likewise, associated with maximising attendance, we have commissioned a pilot to work with colleagues to get people back to work, to ensure that we can have as many people in the place of employment working with us for the best of the council. So again, that initiative is working well, and we're starting to see some real benefits from that. So we're monitoring that again with our colleagues in HR and maximising attendance teams to ensure that we can hopefully achieve the targets that we've been set towards.
Great.
Thank you, Chair. Just that in the report before it says that negotiations for the overtime have yet to be undertaken. So I take it that you are in that process now. You are having these discussions with the staff for the evidence of reducing the overtime hours or the remuneration paid for overtime, so that we can get back on track with our savings.
We're in discussion with our colleagues in HR on how best we can take this one forward.
So we're not actually in discussion with our staff at the moment.
I'm not aware, but I will certainly find that out for you and report that back to the committee.
It says in the remarks, the comments comment that the lead for this is the corporate services. So is that obviously the discussion on overtime in any terms and conditions will involve the trade unions? You want to make sure the trade union is involved in it. Alistair?
My main question, Chair, was actually the last sentence of paragraph 3.5, but Ronnie's already alluded to the background on that, obviously. 3.10, sir, talking about the print unit being transferred to enterprising services at the beginning of the current financial year and has an operational budget pressure that is currently being reviewed. I'd like to know what that is, sir. And secondly, at the end of that sentence there, this is unlikely to be achieved within the current financial year. Any indication, Chair, of the timescale within which it will be achieved? Thank you.
Chair, I'll say a few words and then allow our finance officer. Obviously, the print unit came over to the enterprising services part of the EI, and we're looking at to maximise the efficiencies within that service. So we're looking at what budgets have operated. Obviously, they've split from the graphics to print, and we're investing in the service, looking at how to make it work best for the council, and we're targeting the opportunities this may have for the future. But at this time, in its first infancy with us, in the very first few months it's been with us, we're looking at how we can make savings to bring it back in line with the available budget.
Sorry, Chair, I think that's covered most of it. The timescale, obviously, given that we've only just had it transferred across to us in April, the process for turning that round is going to take longer than the financial year. But I think there are plans afoot that should turn it for next year.
Alan, you're going to be running that. Can you mention anything on that?
Through you, Chair, yeah, I think the print units has got to sit within my team, and I think from early days on we've incorporated that in, we've looked at it, and I think viability of that will be sustainable. I think in the future we've already set a strategy out in the short term of how we're going to tackle that over budget pressure that we've got on that, and I think certainly by middle of next financial year we'll have that gone, with a view that it's just one about looking at efficiencies within that service, but two, how it's going to contribute to the commercial development plan and generate income as well. So there's a good news story I would imagine coming to this committee sometime mid next year.
Ian?
Thanks, Chairman. I suppose just get a chance to go back to George's point, what he made, and I've got one question on top of that. Is where does that, if that's seen as being poor performance in regards to absent management in the Nithsdale area, where is that actually? Is that for us to actually consider as a committee, or does that lie elsewhere? That's one point. Where does that lie actually? Is it Wales or is it no? See, in regards to internal recharge and external works, there's figures within the report. I'd like to have a better understanding of the breakdown of that. How much the percentages, or even figures if we've got them here today, just how much of the business that we do is an internal recharge and how much is it actually external works that we bring in from external bodies.
We'll bring a report forward on that, Ian, at the next committee, if that's okay with you, on what the internal recharge is. But I know that the internal recharges do cost a considerable amount, but we've also got to make sure that when we go forward for any other contracts, that we bring that down to a minimum so that we get the best benefit actually out of that. With regard your question about absence management, that's a line manager responsibility at the end of the day, but we need to have an overall view of the absence management system and see where it actually is.
I'm delighted to see a report that gives us further detail in regards to that. That's absolutely great if we can get that, Chair. But I thought it may have laid with policy and resources. That's what I was thinking, or the EI committee. I wasn't just sure if it's something that we scrutinised here, so was it because it's a human resource thing?
But policies are with policy and resources, but the line management of the individuals with absence management lies with the line management within enterprise and D&G. Caroline?
Thank you, Chair. Just to point out that within the appendix there is a split between internal and external income. As you can see, it's on page 7 of 44. And that gives you the projected income. As you can see, there's nearly £13 million worth of external income projected against 30 million of internal income. That works out about kind of a 20 to 30%, 70 to 70% internal. Just to confirm that that's in there.
Yeah.
Still appreciate the report. I mean, when I'm looking at it, I don't understand where you're coming from, Caroline. There, when I'm looking at it, if I can see a load of services, I'm not exactly sure in my own mind what's external, what's internal. If you could just maybe describe it a bit better.
Right. Obviously, the expenditure isn't split between internal and external because, in effect, the same people are doing the two jobs. We don't split up what individual person does. But within the income, in the subjective analysis, right down the bottom, the last two bits just before you get to income, if you see there's a final outturn, indicative budget, actual expenditure, and then the projected outturn, which is kind of the second last column at the bottom of the sheet. You got that?
A report would be good, Chair.
Ronnie?
Chair, we've got the figures here, but I think it would be worth bringing, just for building the knowledge base up of this new subcommittee. We'll bring a short report breaking down the activities so that members have a fuller understanding of what we do both internally for our council services and externally to our customers and client base. So I'm happy to bring something forward.
Graham, then Ivor.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's just to do with the print unit. Recently, there have been 3 that I know of omissions from papers which came through, and I don't know who's to blame for that. I'm not blaming anybody, but I hope the last one was actually Employment Appeals Committee, when there's a bit of a letter was not in our papers. Now, certainly we got it prior to the meeting, but it wasn't a particularly important part of that letter. It was just a sort of concluding paragraph, but it could have been, and it could have caused quite a bit of stooshy with the appellant. Now, I hope that when they're driving for efficiency,
that's really got nothing to do with the print. They actually print what's asked of them, and it might be the person that's actually sending them.
Well,
sent the appropriate
I
thing.
took it up to the person who sent it, and they said it went. The papers were complete when they went, but that's another matter. But I just hope that we can get this sorted out, and that papers, when they do come out, are accurate. And it's all right going for efficiency, but we need accuracy as well, because we're in a public domain here, and we need to be making sure we've got the right information.
It'll be interesting to see what the ITC programme is going to be for next year, if we're going to go to paperless and things like that. So we'll see what happens there. Ivor?
Chair, where have we lost £1.5 million worth of external income?
Huh?
Well, we've a budgeted plan on 5 which has 14.5 million external income, but the projected outturn is just under 13. That's £1.5 million. Appendix 3 on item 5 of the forward business plan.
Caroline?
This at the moment is my estimates on exactly what we've got in. However, one thing is that the trunk roads income can vary quite considerably. I'm doing this on my projections, but there have been a couple of fairly significant projects that can bump up the income quite significantly. We were probably kind of erring on the over a slightly optimistic side in the commercial plan, and maybe my natural pessimism means that I'm erring on the pessimistic side in the monitoring. Probably it'll turn out to be somewhere in between those two items. That's why.
Are you looking at item 5 rather than?
No, it's just that 16-17 on item 5 is projecting 14.5 million of external income, whereas the projected outturn in 16-17 on item 4 is just under 13. Now, 10% of a budget variance would give me concern. If I was putting forward a business plan to a bank, they would say, come on, you'll need to be a bit sharper with your pencil, make sure you're on. And it just seems a bit, are we looking at pie and sky in 5, or have we got something extra to come in this item 4?
Well, I think we go to item 5, we'll cover it there, if that's all right. Yeah. Anybody else? We go to the recommend. Members are asked to note 2.1 that based on the first 6 months expenditure, the trading element of enterprise and services, a projected return a surplus of £785,056 against a budget surplus of £826,271. If this situation continues, it would result in enterprise and services returning £41,215 less than expected to the Council General Fund. Noted. 2.2 that based on the first 6 month expenditure, the General Fund element of enterprise and services is expected to overspend by £74,900 by the year end, and that the enterprise and service management team are currently progressing a range of measures to ensure the above projected outturn positions are improved by the end of the financial year, with the trading element meeting its budget surplus and the General Fund return on a balanced budget. Happy with that? Thank you. Ian?
Thanks. Just what you were recommending earlier in regards to a future report, should that be in the recommendations?
Get your future report on the clarity of the services provided. Going on to Enterprise and D&G Commercial Development Plan. The Commercial Development Plan was approved by the Economy, Environment and Infrastructure Committee on the 14th of June 2016, and the plan details the vision and operational model for the service, and it is for the committee to support the service in its delivery. The Commercial Development Plan demonstrates our Council's commitment to developing and delivering an enterprising service within the Council. In Enterprise and D&G, the operational trading arm will operate within the new EE&I Directorate and will deliver for the Council a Centre of Excellence for Enterprise and Services, which will work across the whole council to increase our commercial focus. Through this more commercial focus and increased level of activity, a platform on which to build our region's economy, where we work side by side with our region's small and medium-sized businesses to deliver real and sustainable economic growth. A surplus which will be available for reinvestment in the services or to support other priority frontline services, and to underpin that delivery, a streamlined management structure bringing together complementary services. The management structure indicated in the commercial development plan is being amended to secure a strong business and commercial culture going forward, taking cognizance of the current external economic climate. And a report on the final enterprise and services management structure will be presented to this committee at its meeting on the 10th of January. Ronnie, have you got anything to add?
Thank you, Chair. As you intimate, this was obviously approved at the the Economy, Environment and Infrastructure meeting on the 14th of June. The Commercial Development Plan details the vision of building the local economy, developing and delivering a range of high quality, value for money, entrepreneurial services in partnerships with local, small and medium-sized enterprises to generate income to support frontline services. Within the Commercial Development Plan, key outcomes are detailed within the plan, particularly on page 2 of the plan. Business opportunities that we will bring to this committee will meet at least one of the 5 key principles detailed in the plan and are highlighted in the report before you. As we said at the Economy, Environment, Infrastructure meeting back in June, this is very much not about enterprises services trying to take over all the business within Dumfries and Galloway. It's about partnership working with SMEs, allowing small businesses to gain access to markets that perhaps were not available previously, working with them for the best interest of both the local economy themselves and our council. And as you said in your introductory comments, working with over some 450 local subcontractors and returning £17 million back into the local economy. I would happily talk, Chair, to the Commercial Development Plan for all of the rest of the afternoon, but I and my team are more than happy to take any comments or questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Ivor.
Chair, shouldn't we actually be withdrawing from services? Because according to your budgeted forecast, you were £1.5 million short in the external income, we're £1 million short in the internal income compared to the budgeted report. We were going to have a return of 360,000, and with £2.5 million less work to be done, we're going to have 785,000. Surely the less we do, the more we make.
I'm not sure that is the case. I think the more we do, the more we actually make at the end of the day. But we've got a business plan here that's been agreed by ENI, and we have to get that going forward to make sure we get some business into the council. And that's how we do it as part of the business plan. But that will be, brought forward with Ronnie as part of the committees as we go forward. Ronnie, have you got anything to add to that? It's a case of making sure that we go forward with the business plan and try and get as much work in as possible, because that work at the moment, as you know, with the trading account, you start off with zero basically, and you come forward with.
Chair, but surely then we shouldn't be doing it because it's going to cost us money. Because how can we have £2.5 million extra income and have, 400,000 less profit to hand back to the council if we do the £2.5 million extra? This business plan, is it actually being thought out? It actually looks like it's been numbers picked out there. Where is the evidence to show that this actually will come out? And is it a case that 360,000 out of the additional income, which is £2.5 million, or is it 785,000 dropping to 360,000 if we get the extra £2.5 million in?
I mean, the business plan's already been agreed by ENI and full council.
Did they ask the questions?
Yeah.
Did they ask the questions?
Caroline?
Thank you, Chair. The issue with the change in the fact that we're going to make that extra amount of money, the extra surplus, is not to do with generating our business. The amount of money that we're expecting in terms of external income is the 300,000, which on top of the 60,000 from last year is the 360, which is in the business plan. The remaining amount is to do with our savings targets of 700,000. Those have been imposed on us corporately, and we've managed to, through increasing the amount of money that we've managed to make on our external contracts, actually to produce more surplus than we were expecting. When we did the commercial plan, it was based on a break-even position, i.e. we wouldn't make any more surplus than the amount that we had put into the cross-service review, which was the 360. So in effect, the savings measures have allowed, what we would be doing is saying that we're actually making more money than we were expecting to do. Now, I agree with you that those figures that were in here were the 14.5 million was our aspirational figure. It was a kind of, we were aiming for that. We may still get closer to that. As I say, my monitoring report is on the pessimistic side. I tend to be pretty gloomy about my finances until we can actually see. The thing that you need to know is it's a relationship between the amount of income and the amount of costs that we're coming in. So although we're getting less income, we're spending less. So, and the profit element is about the same.
Labour.
Chair, my understanding is the only part that you can actually take budget off us, because everything else is a zero budget, is the non-trading, the one that we're actually budgeted for. Is it 70 odd thousand over, because we haven't achieved the savings. Yet on the trading account, which we have the ability to make money, it's running at 785,000, projected at 2.5 million less is what the business plan is. If we go to the business plan figures, we're going to lose money because we'll only have 360,000 in there. Now, if you're returning money, it's not that you're actually had the money taken off, you're returning more money. You must be making more money off less work. So the more work we do, the worse we're getting. We'll be better halving the amount of work we do, and we'll double the blooming profit. That's the way it looks in the figures.
Well, if you do less work, it means you need less people, and that would be less staff, and that wouldn't be appropriate, I don't think, at this particular time. But we need to get the work in to get the profit that's actually been made there. So, do you want to add anything to that? Alsa?
Could I, through you, Chair, if I could just try and clarify this, if it helps. The commercial development plan, the business plan, was a plan looking forward, and a certain amount of these figures were aspirational, but what we were charged to do was to return £360,000. That's what we were charged to do in the budget that was set. So that was the aspiration going forward with a development plan. What you have in the monitoring report is what's actually happening. It's what we have our eyes on going forward, and we are going to return £700,000, 41 short of the target. Now, it's the monitoring report that's the accurate one and the one that we're basing our future predictions on. If that helps.
Chair, if we were asked to return 360,000 as our budgeted return, why does it state in the previous report against a budgeted surplus of 826, i.e. we were charged with £826,000 to return, not 360?
The point is that the 360 was the amount that we were charged through the cross-service review. At the time that the commercial plan was written, that was the only amount that we were expected to return to the corporate centre. Subsequently, when the savings measures that were applied, the 20 million that was removed, DG, for enterprising DG, had to bear a portion of that saving, which is laid out in the Appendix 2 of the previous report. which was equivalent to 1.1 million. Therefore, it increased the amount of return that we were to make from the 360,000 to the 826,000.
One last time, Ivor.
Chair, my understanding, we set the budget in February. This was passed in June. So the budget was set prior to the report being agreed. So where do you get the fact that the 360 actually came before the budget was set?
Is that what you
said? Certainly, I was working on the commercial plan figures with the 360. Okay, I don't know quite when it was presented, but we were certainly working on the 360.
Alison,
Chair, may I suggest that the next meeting we have a report that completely clarifies this? Certainly, as the year has gone on, other savings have been allocated to us, and I think that's what Caroline's trying to explain. So if we come back with a report that clearly explains the figures on a plus and minus basis, so members understand.
Happy to do that. Ian?
Thanks, Chairman. I mean, for Bright, it might seem hard. I think what Ivor's saying is what we're here to do. It's we're to scrutinise it to the best of our ability. And I would have been saying a lot of that if I hadn't got the reassurance from the previous report that we're going to get a further report with greater detail. So that's where I may be more pacified than what Ivor is. I would have in the same kind of views as what Ivor was having, because I think it's quite valid. We can't shirk around about this. We can't hide for it. If the merit, on the face of it, we take the whole corporate picture within the two reports that are here that we're looking at in particular. It shows the mayor will work. In fact, it made it cost us, and I think there's a conflict between internal recharging, external works. But I want to understand that. I want to make sure I'm talking from gospel, so to speak. But I suppose the question I had in my mind out with that, considering that we've got a report coming forward, it'll give us a clarity, and I've got a reassurance again after the stuff that Ivor's been saying that will be coming, and Mr. Speedy said it as well. But in regards to the streamlined structure that's coming in January, have you got any description at all in regards to how radical a change that is? Does it look the same as it like for like? Is it completely different, do you think? But I know we've got a report coming in January. How radical or not is that, is what I'm trying to establish.
It will come forward, and I think it would be premature because we're obviously still discussing it with the director. So I think we'll bring it to that committee, and that will give full clarity on what we're proposing to do.
Okay. So, Graham?
Thanks, Chair. In 3.3 on page 11, if you look at the bullet points 4, 5, 6 and 8, it's stating that significant commercial success across a range of service provision in Police in Scotland, Fire and Rescue Scotland, vehicle maintenance for BT and whoever Tom is, AA and Scottish Power, and reinstatement works. Are these purely in Dumfries and Galloway, or are we doing any cross-border working?
Chair, through you, the vehicle maintenance it brings in business from national companies that bring their vehicles to us from across Scotland, so they're bringing their stuff to us. Obviously, we're working with doing some repairs for Police and Fire Scotland, and likewise, they've got the vehicles based in here, but others have the ability to be brought in from other areas if they so wish. So we're not. The ability within the commercial development plan is to look wider than Dumfries and Galloway should that be beneficial, but what we're looking at here is primarily key business within Dumfries and Galloway. So these companies are national companies operating within Dumfries and Galloway, and they're bringing the work to us because of where we have appropriate workshops and depots to deliver that service.
We'll come back in there.
Just very quickly, so there is work coming from other regions in Scotland, but who's Tom, or what is Tom? George Prentice asked me coming in the door, and he's too shy to ask.
Chair, it's just that I didn't want to show my ignorance, because I think everybody else in the room will probably know who Tom is, but I certainly don't.
It's a very large company that runs huge vehicle fleets across Scotland. You'll maybe see them going around. They tend to be white vans with the little blue stickers on the side and TOM. So they're a I suppose you can almost class them multinational company that hire vehicles to organisations which obviously need serviced and maintained, and they bring them to us, to our workshops. Sorry, off the top of my head, I couldn't give you but I'm sure my vehicle maintenance manager will be able to when he perhaps speaks later.
Okay, so can we go to the recommendations, and we'll note the Enterprise and DG Commercial Development Plans approved by EEI Committee on the 14th of June. Agree that any business proposal will meet at least one of the 5 set criteria as detailed in paragraph 3.5, and we'll also bring that report back with more information regarding the plan. Yep. Okay. I have no any further business on the agenda. Can we consider adoption of resolution to exclude the public from the